Real, true, educational, not fake news. It's the 21st of April 2020. I'm just going to deal here with wealth and all you read about wealth. Now, you'll often read in the newspaper about somebody, and the most typical example right now is Richard Branson, and their net worth is 4.7 billion. And all this thing, and they'll then say they have a shareholding of 51% or whatever they own the sharehold in the company. Every year in proper accounts there's an adjustment of asset values. Might be hard to read this there, but it's an adjustment of asset values where the values have to be up or down. And I have claimed that there's no such thing as a depression or recession or economic boom or bust. There's just a wrong valuation of the assets and all the company owns or the individual. Now, if you have a company and you're taking money out, that's called drawings. You can take out so much yourself. If you want to sell that company, you sell your shareholding in it. You could own it all, or you could own maybe 40% or 50%. You sell your shareholding, and if you have 51%, you own the company. You can make the vital decisions up to certain limitations. So you own it, but I remember there was programmes on RTE about Ireland's richest man, and at one time it was Sean Quinn they featured there. And but we can see, because of the way events turned out there, that he lost heavily. People will say, "Oh, he still has money," or he hasn't, but he lost heavily in any event, and he's not the richest man in Ireland anymore. And it just shows you how circumstances can change. In that case, his ownership to the company was challenged due to a debt that was claimed, due to a contract for difference. But if you take Richard Branson and all he owns, right, this time last year he could probably sell all his share, and those 4.7 billion euros, he probably would get 4 billion. It's hard to know. See, if you put a big company like that on the market, somebody has to get together and form a consortium to buy it. It's not everyone will buy that. It's only worth that to a certain amount of people. And it's the same with oil shares at the moment. They're trading negatively for the first time. They're actually paying people to take oil. Isn't that unbelievable? So that shows you how these shares are, because of the coronavirus thing. I presume that's the reason. But just remember that it's not as simple as just sticking in the paper he's the richest person. So, because if you offload all your shares at once, you depress the price unless you do it gradually. And then there are circumstances. And one of the things Richard Branson did, he bought a lot of cruise liners and got into this cruise business where you go off on a lovely cruise. And they are being impacted by this coronavirus in an unbelievable way. I'd say the cruise industry is as good as dead. I don't think you or I would, if we're getting a cruise liner for 100 euros, I doubt if we'd take it, especially if we had to operate it because of this problem. And that'll go on for a while. And so he's now looking for a bailout from the British government of 500 million to tide him over. And everyone says, "Oh, let him get himself. He has all these billions." But he doesn't really have all those billions. He has some. But he has all these assets which he definitely owns a large share in. But those assets are not much good. If you were selling an aircraft company at the moment, well, where would you manage to be able to buy it? And who would want to buy it? Because it's possible, we don't know what's going to happen. This time next year there might be still no aircraft flying. Not one passenger airplane went over here this morning, and I remember there'd be 15 or 16. And that's the pattern all week. So the valuation of your assets and who's the richest and who isn't requires to examine the value of the company properly, and then to value the shareholding the person has in it, and then to figure out what it's actually worth. And things like aircraft and all that, they deteriorate. They need maintenance. It's the very same with wind turbines. You can't just throw them there and let them alone. If you come back in a year's time, they'll not be in good shape. Land is a good example of something, and gold is a good example. And certain non-perishable assets, like owning a lot of copper, would be a great asset because it doesn't perish. Owning a lot of timber, you'd need to mind it. Owning a lot of barrels of whiskey might be good, or a lot of wine might be of a certain amount. But then again, the value of everything is going to take a hit very, very soon, because what value is on things. I mean, if people aren't getting out, people having the money to buy it. So anyway, I just want to bring that to your attention. In my opinion, when you're reading the paper about the richest man in the world and the richest this and the other, I wouldn't pay too much heed of it. There are families, I'll not name them, who seem to be able to accumulate money and keep it for generations. They're in on that trick, and there's actually British families who are rich for over 300 and 400 years to seem to be able to keep that wealth there, whereas there's only a portion. A lot of them can't. A lot of them lose out, and a lot of them die out without being able to keep that wealth in their bloodline. That does happen, but some, that is not the case, and several articles have brought out that. Some of them are very cute. When they get a bit of money, they know how to mind it. So there's two issues. You have to be able to make the money, and you have to be able to keep it, and I think the latter is actually the most difficult. So just watch for that. It's not that Richard Branson can't afford something. I'm sure he is a bit put by. I'm sure he is a bit here and there, and he's invested in some things which are not perishable and which will keep. But it's just that all these billions are subjective, and it's a bit of a plaster, and it's actually fake news in many ways. It is fake news, and I wouldn't pay any heed to it. And that's a quick video now, and we'll see you back. This is 7 minutes. We'll see you back then for something else, and thank you very much for looking in, and give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Learn to read between the lines is the best way. Paper won't refuse ink, and figure out what is real news and what's fake news, and that's only done by assessing the situation. Thank you very, very much, and we'll see you back. Right.